Great title for the video. #1 support world. Epic.
Thank you. Thank you.
What elo is this in?
Gold 1, gold 2.
Okay, cool. Then we can just jump right into it. Are there any questions or anything specific?
Did you see the thumbnail?
The thumbnail? No, I didn't
it's
see
me
the
missing a
thumbnail.
hook.
Oh, okay. Alright, we'll skip around since level 1 you're just going to take a reset now. So, primary thing when you're playing Thresh in the early stages is just utilizing brushes and making sure that you push. So these are like the primary fundamentals for the early laning phase for you. So we enter in lane and we hit the minions, but we're no longer creating pressure in this lane. So the most important thing is once you start getting a push is you want to take this brush right here because it gives you access to looking for the most pressure in the lane. Gives you better angles on people, and it will allow you to kind of scoot back and forth depending on where the vision gets placed down in the early stages. So when you step back into this brush right here, what you've done is you've effectively, as you see right here, you've given them access to the wave. And you want to make sure that you're zoning them away from the wave as much as possible. If you're really far back right here, then what ends up happening is because of this, these two players can now push the wave and hit the wave by themselves. Plus, if Karma just sits here, you can't hit hooks anymore, right? We don't have any angles for any of our hooks. So that's why it's really important to stand in this brush right here. That way you can create pressure on the bottom lane and potentially look for hooks and pressure in the lane. Also, it just makes you closer to the minion wave so you can start hitting it. Because immediately what's probably going to happen here is that because you're all the way this far back, it allows them to just kind of push and hit the minion wave, and you're not responding to any of this. So you can see right here, right now they've already gotten a slight push advantage on you. They have like an extra range minion. They're hitting the melees, etc. And you're going to come into this lane like pretty much like super late. And because of that, they're going to have access to the wave level 2, and then you no longer have pressure in the lane. So for Thresh, we want to make sure that we're not getting stuck under the turret. And the easiest way to do that is utilize the brushes. We utilize the brushes and it's a lot easier. Plus on top of that, things like this don't need to ever happen. So for example, right, we always want to be shooting hooks from the brushes, not from the lane. And if you are going to shoot any hooks at people, even at like level 1, we're already kind of starting to see this with you, Paneri, where you tend to take really long ranged hooks that are really hard to hit. So like, for example, when I look at this scenario right here where you're just looking for a hook, I mean, he's already got so much space to work out. He could literally just walk down and you would miss the hook. There's no way for this hook to ever hit. Because he's just so far away. And a lot of this is systemic from the fact that now we have no wave right? It's pushing into us, so the minions are in our way, and we don't have control of any of the brushes. So the first couple of first two waves are really, really important on Thresh. We want to make sure that we're getting the push going and we're controlling the waves in a way that allows us to take access in the brushes. Because the easiest way to hit a skill shot is, well, they can't see it. And the brushes are going to be your kind of your bread and butter for creating space like that. Because now, right, we're in a scenario where, because the wave is pushed all the way here, we can't create any pressure. So when it comes to creating pressure in the lane, though, so let's say like we're here, right, and the wave is kind of like starting to push into us. There's a couple of things that we can do to alleviate pressure. #1 is waiting for the wave to crash. So you see how like you walk up here and you look for a hook as this next wave is coming. The best thing you can do is just wait for this next wave so that there is no chance that minions get in your way. So we want to make sure that we wait for these minions to show up and start hitting each other before we start looking for hooks. That way there's less minion volatility, right? Because there's a whole line basically of minions that are going to be in your way. So the best way to avoid that is by letting the wave crash, and then we can wrap around the minions and look for hooks. But if you're doing it right here, it's too hard.
So I can like kind of walk past the minion wave when it crashes?
We basically want to wait for the wave to run into each other, and then we can start creating pressure. Then afterwards we can make pressure. So this is like a really good opportunity for a lot of people whenever you have this scenario where you ping on your way, so your AD carry will step up for you to look for plays. In general, though, since you already lost the waves early, what I would tell you to do in this situation is just do nothing. Make sure you don't get poked and let the wave hit the turret. And then when the next reset waves are coming, then you can start looking for pressure again. Because this is going to be too big of a wave. Let's say you actually hit this hook, for example, right? And you went in on it. So let's say instead of hitting the minion, it hit him. It like lollipopped onto him. And you flayed and you started DPSing him across. you would probably actually lose more health than the AD carry, because your AD carry is not in a great spot to give any autos. Maybe he gets a boomerang, but that's about it. And then you have this huge wave in your way, which is also why whenever you're playing all-in champions, it's really just a good principle in general to wait for waves to run into each other before we fight. Because otherwise, then you're just fighting against a huge wave that's hitting you the whole time too. So it's really, really hard to chase people down the lane. But if you let the minions run into each other, then all those minions don't fuck you up the entire time. Because really, for the most part, we just want to catch this wave under the turret since we didn't have like a good early level 1.
So like what I want to do in this lane, say in general.
So I mean, really the primary thing is controlling level 1 is really helpful. Just allows you to kind of control the pace of the lane way better. So for me, it's level 1. We want to make sure that we're in the brush or pushing the wave, and the brush that's like in the middle, not behind. And we want to make sure that we're pushing so that we have level 2. Because if you don't have a minion wave in your way, then it's just easier to hit hooks. And that's the kind of scenarios that we're trying to create in this laning phase, is to have open space so that you can chase people down if you hit hooks, and so it's just easier for you to hit hooks in general. Because if you're getting pushed into the turret right here, right, then it's so much harder for you to look for hooks. You have to walk up. There's a bunch of minions in your way. You're walking up, so they can throw spells at you at the same time, so you have to dodge all those. Plus, because of that, it's also broadcasted what you want to do, right? So the likelihood that they step back is very high. Whereas if you have the push, or if you're even just in the center of the lane, we can use the brushes for looking for angles. We can create a lot more space for ourselves. But if you get pushed in like this, then it kind of becomes problematic. And it can kind of be cyclical, where like you get stuck here for a really, really long time just fishing for hooks, as you're kind of doing right here. And it'll be really problematic for you to create any pressure. Because see how they get access to your wave first, so then they can hit the minions again and start pushing you again and over. Then you've kind of created a scenario where, well, unless I hit a hook, it's really hard to bail yourself out. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen by just having like a good level 1. And it's pretty easy to do if you just step in the brush next time, and then also make sure you're hitting the minions to push. And you can see, right, like these are the kinds of examples that I'm talking about, where you try to walk up, they throw spells, and they walk backwards, right? So how do I get pressure from this point in the lane? Okay, so now you have a wave finally crashing. So what you should do here is you should shift over into this brush. You shouldn't be over here, because remember, we wanna mask like our intent is a good word for it. We want to make sure that it's really, really hard for them to know what's going on and what we plan on doing. And the best way to do that is to be in fog of war. Yeah, go ahead.
Do I like take my? I mean, I have to take my AD carry into account, right? So say here my AD carry is staying like pretty far back and has a half health, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of someone like THRESH too. Is even if you hit hooks, even if your AD carry is kind of relatively low, he can still throw some damage in, and you just don't go as hard, and that will give you the space. So, like in a scenario like this, I understand what you're saying, right? He's super low, so like even if you hit a hook, can you even all in him, etc. So the answer to that is 2 parts, right? Number 1 is probably not. It's very unlikely that you'll get a kill off the first hook, but basically at this point in time, you want to create pressure in this lane so you don't sit under the turret. That's what you're trying to actively avoid. So hitting hooks so that he can throw a boomerang, maybe you flay an auto attack and then you just scoop back. That will give you the space that you need to get access to the wave. So the reason why walking up and taking this brush is also really important is it doesn't give them access to the brush. So by not taking this brush, Karma can actually walk in here and start poking your ADC when he goes for minions. And we want to make sure that we're avoiding that. Plus, if you walk up, so if you take your character and you start moving forward and you take this brush here, then what'll happen is they have to move away from that location, which means that they're not going to have access to the whole wave. And even if you don't get a hook, just by being in that spot, it means that they're not pushing the wave in all the way. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid getting stuck under the turret the whole time on THRESH. Because if you get stuck under the turret, then it just sucks. Like, it's really hard to play the game. It's really hard to hit hooks. It's really hard for you to basically do anything in the lane outside of just fucking flashing on somebody the second they walk up or something like that. So this is like good fundamentals. So take the brush again. If you hit a hook, maybe you don't think you can get a kill. Maybe you just flay and auto attack and step back. That'll give you some space to work with. because by not taking this brush and by not stepping up, right, and we're going to use our hook again, boom, now look at the lane state again, remember? We want to make sure that we're avoiding getting pushed in, but because we throw the hook at open ground, it's really easy for them to dodge it. And then because we don't have the brush, now he gets access to the brush, which lets him do whatever he wants. And as you can see right here, the wave, the bot lane has now now full access to the wave. You can't walk up and hit this at all. And because of that, we're going to be in the same cycle. Oh, well, because we're getting pushed in, now will be more difficult to hit hooks, etc. So, yeah. Those are like kind of the things that we want to actively avoid as best we can. Now, I just want to reiterate and like kind of show you that even though, even if like your AD carry can't do too much in a lane state, just a little bit of extra damage goes a long way. So if you just watch right here, you're going to flay and just auto attack, and all this guy's going to do is give you a boomerang blade. And I just want you to like kind of pay attention to how low this player is already off of that. So you're going to flay, you're going to auto attack like once or twice. And you're cutting backwards, and he hits just the boomerang blade. And look at that.
Okay, yeah.
So even if like your AD carry couldn't give you a bunch of auto attacks and stuff, even if you step up, hit a hook, etc., just a boomerang blade and an ignite. So if you hit hook, right? Let's just say like we put hook into here and you used ignite and no extra auto attacks hit and just the boomerang blade, this player almost dies right there. Just to show you like visually.
If say I don't throw the hook like before, and the same thing happens, I can hook right here. Yeah, and like that's probably kill.
Yeah. So another thing to tackle too is you have a tendency to just throw hooks, and that's like kind of what you struggle with. Like, there's no reason for you to throw a hook here because number one, you're not throwing it at AD carry who's going for last hits, so there's no reason for the person to walk up. And number two is you have all this space. Look at all this space that he could run to. It's very, you know what I mean? It's very bad for you. It's going to be hard for you to hit this skill shot. And honestly, I'm pretty sure your hook only reaches about here. So, like, he's out of range already. So you're shooting things from really, really far away. And you're putting it on cooldown and giving your opponents a lot of space. If you feel like you can't hit the hook, like, pretty confidently for whatever reason, then it's a lot of times better for you to just sit on the hook cooldown rather than give it. Because see how like you give the hook and then it's like, oh cool, well I'm Karma, I can just walk up and just beat the shit out of anyone that I want now, right? So now you've given space. It's the same thing like when a Blitzcrank misses hook, right? So we want to make sure that we're avoiding those kinds of scenarios. Yeah, you can do a lot. You can do a surprising amount of damage to players just with like flays and auto attacks. Thresh actually does a lot of damage. That people don't really realize a lot of the time. Also, like another like super nitpicky thing is right here. We're gonna use our relic on the melee, but you have a cannon right here, which means that a cannon is coming in. So you're actually gonna waste your relic stack on the melee instead of getting ranged. Okay. So try to be a little bit more self-conscious. The best way to do it is if you can't, if you haven't like been keeping track of like the timers for them. Is I usually just go, oh, is there a cannon next wave? It feels like it's been a while since a cannon spawned. Or like if there's a cannon in your wave, then that's also another indicator. So those are easy ways to check without being like, you know, a smurf like knowing what's up. Okay, so let's talk about some cooldowns, okay? So you hit the hook right here. Your ignite should already be going on this player. 100%.
Okay.
So let's make sure that we're using hooks on like targets that you want to DPS and go all in on. This is also really prevalent in like lower elos. Whenever you all in somebody, a lot of times it's better to just dump the ignite when you feel like you're gonna go in for something rather than wait. And the reason for that is that I would tell you is if you don't have enough damage, it creates a lot of pressure on people. So this is just a guaranteed kill. You just use ignite and this player is dead. You don't need, there's no reason to hold your ignite here, because we want to go through the healing, right? So that is like a super important thing to do, and just use it the second you hit confirm on a hook. That's going to be your best situation. Also, another thing to note is like, I don't know what happened with like the video or whatever, but we have biscuits up. So, right here, right? So you're going to hit a hook and you're going to flay, and you should use your biscuit here, and then that should be usually a lantern for your AD carry. And this should just be a kill on this player immediately. And what's going to happen is Zach is going to go on the AD carry at the same time. So you guys go here. You should dump Ignite. And this player should just die instantly. See how, like, he flashes? He should just die instantly. There's no reason for him to survive at all. Plus, as, like, the... if I'm ever going to interact with brushes, by the way, this is also why I like using Ignite here. Because he runs through the brush, and I think you lose fog. If you
vision.
Yeah, if you use Ignite, it gives vision. So Ignite, for the most part, just kills this guy instantly. And we need to make sure that we're using our biscuits so that you have mana. Because you could actually have Lantern and reposition your AD carry and actually kept them alive in this situation. Because this costs this takes too long and it costs too much. So I don't think you even use your biscuit here.
Yeah.
So we still have like our stuff. So we could have used our biscuit here, and then you could have had a flay. Because the reason why I point out all of this is because everything is timely. Everything is tied to time. So this right here, this player should die 3 seconds faster. And then if this person dies 3 seconds faster, look what... Because you don't use the Ignite, right? The jungler has to use his flash. Yeah, he's going to use his flash. He's going to double Q right here. Now imagine if both of those things were up for this player. You're not going to biscuit, so you don't have flay. So there's just less damage in this player in general and less crowd control. Plus, you actually could have procced Aftershock and tanked for a lot longer.
Right. Wait,
yeah.
I still have Aftershock?
Yeah, you used it. You used it a little bit earlier when you walked up and flayed, so it cycled back up. Aftershock's actually a pretty short cooldown now. I think it's like 25 or 30 seconds. It's not nearly as long as before, so it actually comes up pretty fast. Because I point this out just because I want to show, like, visually, like, how many problems arrive because we don't kill one person fast and we then have to use a bunch of cooldowns. That's why, like, using the Ignite is just the best policy in most cases, because, like, okay, well, this guy is pretty low. Ignite will get value, right? It'll contribute to the kill, so let's just use it. That way we can kill people off. And even this whole time, by the way, like, you're still sitting on your biscuits and health potions. Which is just a bad policy in general. So it's definitely something that you should work on, is making sure that you're actively using your consumables in fights. Okay, so we're gonna end up getting some potions. Okay, so number one thing is if I'm ever close to about 150 gold, I would have just sold this pot and bought a refill, by the way. Okay, so then we come back to lane. Same situation, right? Want to be in the brushes as much as we can. So when you are doing these last hits, you need to walk out of the brush. If you didn't know this, for Fog of War, the way this works is if you're ever in the brush and you auto attack, then they can see you in the brush. But if you walk out of the brush, auto attack, and then walk into the brush, no one can see you.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So if your auto attack is occurring while in the brush, it will give them vision of you the entire time. So you see how, like, you're hitting here? Well, guess what? They know you're there. They know you're there. See how, like, he can click on you and stuff? So that's like a big no-no. So let's talk about, like, setting yourself up for success, because I think this is going to be a disaster of a play. Maybe it'll work out, but it looks kind of rough. Okay, so we're flaying. So you do the flay and the hook eventually. Also, MF is still alive.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so really what I want to tackle is this mindset. You don't always need to lead a play with a hook. So I want to tackle this right here. So you see how, like, this player walks up and she's looking to W you here, right?
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be looking for a hook here. You should walk up and flay, because your jungler is walking down right to help you with the gank. Otherwise, you don't want to do this because of the minion wave. But you should make it a lot easier on yourself, is what I'm saying. So flay into hook is just always easier, right? It's always easier to hit a hook on someone who's knocked up, who's slowed, you're on top of them, etc. So what's going to happen here is you see all this space that he has to move again. You're going to throw out the hook and you're going to miss it. But really what you should have done is, instead of throwing out the hook, is if you want to set up this play, you could just walk up.
So do I still, like, dodge out of his W range? Yeah,
so you dodge out. You already are out of his W range. You'll walk out of it. Boom, you're done. You're done with the W range, right? And the AD carries are trading. You should just be walking up and flaying. You shouldn't be leading with your hook. It feels great when you hit the hook, right? But we want to make sure that we're using kind of like the cheat codes of League of Legends, which is it's always easier to hit a hook if you flay first. So in these kinds of scenarios, we should just instead walk up and challenge, flay him, and then hook. You have the jungler coming down, so you know you'll get cover on the all-in.
So it's like, is walking into his W, like accepting the W and flaying, is this an option?
Yeah, if you're strong enough to fight, yeah, it's totally fine. And I just want to like highlight how much look how much easier it is for you to hit spells, right? Like flay hook is super easy. It's a very nice cheat code that we want to use as much as possible. I understand you can't always do that for sure, but when people are contesting you that close, you should. You have the tier 2 boots, so you have tons of movement speed. It's totally fine for you to walk up and flay in that situation. Because we want to make sure that you're making it easier for yourself, right? Because so far we've not hit too many hooks. We've shot a lot of hooks that you don't need to shoot. So yeah, that's like a really good policy that we want to have attached to when we play Thresh. Okay, so we push this wave in. We go over here. So number one thing is putting down your pink ward in a fight. Okay, cool. We hit a hook. We flay him out. We finish off the dragon. We still have lantern up, by the way. Okay. We're auto-attacking anyone we can. So this is all like this is another thing tied to consumables, right? So I want to point this out.
Oh yeah.
So really the way this fight should work, okay? So number one, you hit a hook. Perfect. Good job. You should flay him into you, by the way. You shouldn't flay him out. Because your AD carry is over here and he can't reach this target right now, and you have Aftershock, so there's no way for him to kill you. Number two is this is where I would hit my potion and my biscuit right here, because I want to make sure that I have the resources ticking in for this fight. So you don't want to flay him out, you want to flay him in, because you want to be able to DPS him so your AD carry can hit. Number two is you should hit the dragon, which you actually do, so good job on that. So we're hitting this person, right? Next, what you should do, no cooldowns available, right? And they're on your jungler, and you've taken the neutral. What you should do is you should throw the lantern and start scooting back up to here.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes, to help reposition your jungler. After you reposition your jungler, then these will probably come back up, and then you can walk forward again. Because basically what you want to do is like this. This is how like fights want to look for you as Thresh. You dump all your CC and you dump all your CC on whoever comes in, and then you're just kiting backwards after that to wait for the next cycle. And that's how like you want to look at fights for the most part. So we're kind of late on. We're kind of late on the lantern. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And that's like for CDR build Thresh, right?
Yeah, for CDR Thresh especially.
Okay.
So, like, the problem that we'll run into, right, is because you stay on top of him, the lantern gets no value on, like, moving him, right? And then they're both hitting him the whole time. Instead, if you were this far back, then you could reposition him. You give him a lot more space to work. So you end up scoring a kill. That's great. Perfect. You have a numbers advantage. There's no reason for you to run away from this fight. What you should have done is just popped your potions right here, and then you should just stand your ground and move back in. Your Fizz can start walking now, and this guy is super low on HP, and he's level 5. You can just kill this player. This player is a free kill. So really what you should have done instead of kiting out is you should have pushed in and created space for your AD carry and tanked and had these had your potions going. Yes.
Is it like numbers advantage counting Fizz?
This guy is relatively useless in this fight, and you're already winning bottom lane from the kills that you got.
Wait, but there's karma down, no?
It doesn't matter. The karma doesn't matter. Because by the time they have the DPS to kill one of you, if you have your potions running and you're standing here and creating space, your Fizz will show up in this fight. So basically the problem is this, right? So you're going to go 2 different directions and Fizz is starting to walk. But if you were here instead and you were just scooting back and hitting people, then your Fizz is reinforcing, right? And if they go too far, then you can turn and chase them down.
Okay.
So you missed out on like kind of 2 opportunities to score kills. So after that though, my biggest thing is you haven't put your pink down. Well, pink wards are really good around mid lane. So here, we'll pull up this. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The best places to pink are these spots right here when you're on this side. So the places where I would pink is probably just this location because it covers the most space. Now, if you have a pink ward already in this location, then this is not a bad spot either. And let's say like you're losing control on mid. So let's say like mid's just like the enemy mid's like smashing your mid laner and he's roaming a lot. Then this location is fine. This spot right here is a good defensive pink. But yeah, you need to be getting your pinks down just around mid. That way you can kind of see who's moving and where they're moving to. Plus, by having the pink, it means that your mid laner knows he's not walking over wards when he walks down, and if you ever roam mid, you know paths that you can take that you're not walking over wards. So it's really, really valuable.
I have a question. So
yeah,
when I flayed like Zed out,
yeah,
I played him out because I was like concerned that he would kill my AD carry.
Oh, he couldn't kill your AD carry at all, for sure. Here, I'll even break it down. It's basically just because he used the shadow already. So, watch. He'll walk up, and he'll use his shadow. See? His shadow is on you, right?
Okay.
So, if you flay him in, he shadows here no matter what. So, it doesn't matter. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you push him out,
okay, yeah.
If you push him out, he just shadows here anyway, so the distance isn't any better for you to protect your ADC, but by pulling him in, your ADC could potentially DPS him the whole time. Plus, it gives the Zed nowhere to run to. So by pulling him in, right, he goes, oh, well, I either go here, or I press R on somebody here. And both of you, you have Aftershock procced, your jungler is probably who he goes on no matter what, but it's just creating pressure on him to make a decision on this scenario. And it gives you the space to DPS, you and your ADC to DPS it. So flaying him out would have been a good thing to do if he didn't use Shadow. So if he didn't use Shadow, then maybe you're more concerned about pulling him close enough that he kills your ADC. That's totally fine. But the decision is made for you when he uses his Shadow. Once he uses his shadow, it no longer becomes your decision. You should just flay him in.
Is my buy fine? Like maximizing CDR?
Yeah, you had 800 gold, so Kindle Gem's usually the best if you're going for the CDR build. 100%. Fortunately, it won't matter too much in this scenario, but you did use a lot of your relic stacks. This is the cannon wave again. So it works out because like it ticked in, right? You had like a tick in thing, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think you were thinking that at all. So just try to make sure that we're always saving one over for the cannon waves. And if you're ever not sure, just check your wave. That's the easiest way to do it, is like every once in a while, just try to check your waves to see if there are cannons. Just because we're approaching 8.5 minutes, we kind of want to start be almost done. You'll get close to it for sure, but if you hadn't missed one of the cannons, right, you're done off this cannon wave. And those kinds of things add up. Just making sure that you have good habits on getting the cannons that I just want to drill into you. Same thing, right? We're always taking really long, like unnecessary hooks, and it's kind of just putting you on cooldown, and it makes it a lot harder for you to play. So, here, actually, whenever I have standstills like this, so you're in this brush and they're in another brush, right? Really what I do is I wait for them to start walking towards the brush. Then I throw the hook, so when they're entering the brush, they get hooked. Yeah. So if you actually want to look for ways to hit people on hooks and stuff like that, that's going to be your bread and butter for it. Don't shoot the hook while they're in the brush or while they're like walking back and forth in it. So like, let's say you were here right now, right, instead, and then the Karma starts walking towards the brush. This is where I would throw my hook. This is when I would throw it. Because then they're entering the brush, and then they go, oh shit, there's a hook. Boom, and it hits them, right? It's a lot easier for you to hit hooks that way. So if you ever do have like brush versus brush scenarios, that's going to be where you're looking to hit hooks.
So I should have just like stayed in the brush.
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah, it's okay. So the best way I can describe it is you've laned against like Threshes and Blitzcranks, right? It's scary when they're just not, they don't show themselves, right? They haven't used hook, nothing's happened. You're trying to maneuver. You're not quite sure if they're going to use hook. There's this implied pressure, I guess you would say, while the spell is up, that when you use it, it's down. And that like unlocks the lane for the enemy team to play aggressively. And we want to make sure that when we're going for hooks, it's sensible. It's okay to miss stuff. Don't get me wrong. You're going to miss skill shots. But these skill shots that you're currently taking are almost impossible for you to hit. They're too far away. There's no pressure in the lane for them to like worry about something else that would cause them to run into your hooks, etc. And most of the time, you're not doing it from a point where you have a vision advantage. That was the first time where we've thrown a hook where you had fog of war advantage on them in the entire laning phase, and we've done 10 minutes of laning, right?
Hey, that's not true. I hit that hook. Remember where we got kills? From the brush.
I think that was where you just walked up on them, though.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'll eventually hit some of the hooks, but really the cheat code is vision advantage. See, same thing, right? So that's like a thematic thing that you need to work on, is just letting the waves crash before you look for hooks. Because I think you just make this champion a lot harder than it needs to be for you. That's the best way I would describe it for you, is you're looking for a lot of hooks that just aren't reasonable. They're too hard to hit. You'll most likely not hit most of those.
So do I also try to like wrestle the push here?
Once the next wave comes, yeah, it's totally fine to do that. But you have to walk with the wave. So this wave is coming, right? So you should already be here and moving up in front of the wave to make them make a decision between you and the wave. So on these like wave resets, the best way to get control of it is to be ahead of the wave. So you see how like as the wave is coming in, like MF has already hit it a couple of times. It's starting to push into them, etc. And see how far away you are from the wave. By the time you ever get into a position to pressure because of how far away you were from the wave, half of this wave will die. So like you're starting to move, like there's a lot of HP missing from it, right? Also, another thing to note too is once you take this brush, really what you should do is you can do things without doing anything. Let me describe this. So instead of throwing the hook, right? See how Sivir finally has access to the wave?
I just gotta sit.
If you
there.
walk up and then walk back over and over again, they'll be scared of you because you don't use the hook, right? And if they're scared of you, they're not hitting the minion wave if they're positioning to deal with you the entire time. And that's also another way to wrestle pressure in the lane, is by like creating feint. I use the word feinting, like you're kind of pretending to go in, but you're not actually, you're just trying to get them away from the wave. And but if you do stuff like that, they'll usually give ground. And if they give ground, then they're not hitting the wave, and then you can step back, you can start pushing it, and then you can look for hooks again.
Oh, by the way, does like hitting the minion next to a person, then like pulling yourself to that minion, and then like flaying, putting the box, does that ever work?
Most of the time not really, unless you're super far ahead.
Okay.
If you're super far ahead, sure, it can work, but all right, so let's tackle like this a piece at a time, right? So we have no hook for the most part, and they're gonna walk up and you're gonna flay. If you're gonna flay, you want to make sure that it lines up with your hook. So you're gonna flay like about like a second and a half before your hook is up, right? So like we don't have the setup just quite yet. So you should just wait for this before you do this. Otherwise what happens, right, is this, where you walk up and flay, you don't hook immediately, and now look at all this space again that he has to move. And we missed the hook again, right? So we want to make sure that we're layering everything together. So the next thing is you're going to start cutting backwards. You need to use your box way earlier. Once he once he tethers to you, you should already be looking to use your box and potentially flash if he flashes on you. So he's going to walk up and he's going to tether you. I would just drop the box here and start scooting back, because you don't want this guy to collapse on you, right? Then next thing that happens, okay? So you're getting DPS the whole time. You should just flash out. You really shouldn't. You're being too greedy with your summoners right now. Also, another thing to point out, you've had this fight going on for about 8 or 9 seconds. We haven't used our health potions at all. So let's try to make sure that we're working on that also. I know it's a lot of things to work on. So yeah, you need to be using your health potion, and you should just flash out. Because you're not surviving this. And you lantern, right? We're not lanterning ourselves, and then you just kind of get blown up. And the ignite gets basically no value.
I remember I forgot that lantern is not an offensive spell.
Yeah, you can't throw a lantern at someone and they get scared. Sorry, it's not how it really works. Another option too actually is if you want to have the fight go really long, you also could have flashed onto the 80 carry. So like right here, when he starts channeling, you could have also flayed him, then boxed him, ignited him, and then lanterned yourself. And you probably could have actually killed the 80 carry also. That was another option for you. Okay. Reactively. But that would have been a really in-the-moment like thing to do. And the reason why that works is just because your 80 carry is relatively healthy. And you can kind of see right here, right? We've created the triangle on him. So even though you actually have no hook, it would still be pretty functional, especially if you get right on top of him and put the box down. Because that'll force him to flash out, and then your AD carry can chase him down the lane. But no matter what, like, flash needed to happen somewhere in this fight. And there's a lot of opportunities for you to do that, both defensively and offensively. And it's like kind of reinforced, right? If we don't miss the cannon, then you actually have Sightstone right here on this back, and you can actually get an insane value on your reset. So that's why, like, it's always just like super helpful for you to always get that. Okay, so we went to stop backs. Wasn't quite able to do that. We do finish the quest. Okay, so you get a ward here. So you still have a ward. So you ward over the wall. Okay, I mean, you got good vision down. That's super good, despite. But same thing, right? So you've had this pink. You've had this pink since your first buy. You haven't placed it. It's almost 12 minutes. It's okay. Like, a lot of people really forget to do it. So it's, like, pretty common for me to see it happen. Line brush is just the easiest, by the way. If you have no idea where to put your pinks, line brush is never bad. Like, these brushes are never a bad place to put pink wards down. So in the future, if you just have no fucking idea where to put them down, just dump them in a pink brush or a line brush, and you'll always be fine that way.
So I think I didn't like put it down mainly because I usually put the vision down before the objectives. So I'm kind of don't think about it too much before like it comes.
Well, you can't go wrong with the line brush, because then you can maybe make a catch on mid or something like that too.
Okay.
All right, so we'll tackle this like after the fight is kind of fully developed. So we're kiting backwards right now. We're looking for a hook. Oh, really good hook. You should have had a flay on that guy, by the way.
Could I do that?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's tackle each part of this. Okay. So we haven't seen flash in a while. Even if you don't like time stuff, which is pretty much, I don't even time stuff, so it's fine. It's just been a really long time since they've flashed, right? Pretty reasonable thing to say. So you're gonna come in here and you're gonna set up the gank. So you throw the lantern to your teammate, which is totally fine, but you should expect flashes to come out of here. So really what you should do is just do nothing, let your Zac start it, and then you should be catching flashes. You shouldn't be doing anything here. So, like, you're going to pull this guy in, and remember, he has, like, the QQ to pull people together. He has the E to knock people up. His ultimate will bounce people around. He has plenty of crowd control, right? He doesn't need your CC. So, really, what you should be doing here is you should be catching flashes. And what I mean by that is you use no spells, you wait for someone to flash, and then you flash on them and flay on them. Yeah.
Oh, flash? Okay.
Yeah, you flash on them and you flay them.
Okay.
I mean, if you're insane at hitting hooks, right? You could be greedy, not use your flash, and then look for hooks, but really,
I think we established the time though.
Yeah. So we're using cheats, right? Though, like, it's easy to flash and flay someone who's already flashed. We want to use cheats in this scenario. So really, what you shouldn't use anything. So you're gonna flay here, and you're gonna use box. Well, guess what? Everyone flashed away from all of those spells, and you've got no value. And you see how like your jungler has also used all his spells to try and beat the flash. So that's why in these kinds of scenarios, it's just staggering of your CC. So if your teammate can do a bunch of stuff for you and you're like, I haven't seen flash in a while, it's probably up. Good policy to kind of have a lot of times. You just flash after this. So imagine instead of using any of your spells, oh, well, he flashed. And then you just like flash flayed this guy. Okay, he's dead. You don't even have to hit hook. Flash flay in a box is 100% dead, right? Because we've got people collapsing. So just using cheats like that is really, really helpful. Because there's no reason for like that many resources to be used for basically one kill. So Malphite is going to use his ult here, by the way. So basically when you're kiting backwards and you hit this hook, which is actually a really good hook, by the way, you should 100% flay him. Like you can 100% flay him. You don't need to scoot back. You need to stay here, and then your flay will come up. You just spam it, flay him, ignite him. He's dead. Yeah, that's another free kill. So in team fights, it's always a really good habit to have whenever you have free time. So the easiest free time is when you hit a hook, right? Because that has like its own animation. Your character can't do anything. So a lot of times whenever I hit a hook, that's usually when my eyes go down. That's usually when my eyes go down to go check what cooldowns I have. In case like you're not used to cooldowns or like the internalization of anything like that, right? Then we want to make sure that we're getting good value on that. That way you would know that your flay is up. Because I know it's really a tight timing, right? Like it just came up, but that's why like when I hit hooks, I go, oh, well, what cooldown could come up? Because you should have been able to flay him, ignite him, and that guy dies 100%. Because he doesn't have Malphite ult, right? Like you're not making a play on someone who can turn it on you. Okay, so then your Zac goes in. We have another fight going. Same thing, right? You don't need to use your hook. Just walk up and flay him.
Okay.
Right? Like, we have the bonus movement speed. He's pretty close to you. Just walk up and flay him. And if he starts moving around a bunch and you're not sure if you're going to hit a hook, perfect. Then just don't throw the hook, because then he's dodging and spending all this mental energy trying to dodge a hook. Well, guess what? You're not even throwing it. You're just beating the shit out of him. Because you can. You can just auto-attack him to death. With a champion like this. Because, like, you end up doing it anyway, right? Like, we walk up, you miss the hook, and then you flay. So let's use the cheat codes, right? A lot easier to hit hooks off of flay targets. So you're gonna walk over here. You put a ward over the wall, a little bit out to the side, but I can see what you're doing there. That one's fine. Just same thing, right? We still have this health potion. 13 minutes in, we haven't used it.
Oh yeah, I didn't have mana. I pressed Q there because I wanted to hook when they went in. Yeah, but I didn't have mana.
Yeah, so let's talk about creating space for your team and like how to use cooldowns here. So when the dragon gets pulled, you should be tanking this for your jungler, by the way. You have the highest HP pool by a lot. You're relatively useless because you have not too much mana, right? So it's fine if you die. I think biggest problem you have is you have a poor acceptance of dying for a good fight. That's kind of what I'm seeing so far. It reminds me of the last dragon fight we were at, where you're not willing to risk like your HP basically at all. You're playing kind of like maybe you're a Nami or something, but Thresh isn't really like that. So when I look at this scenario, you should tank the dragon at the start, and then these players are going to cut in, right? So really what you should do is you should create space for your team, because your teammates are about to get collapsed on from all these angles, right? So really what I would do here is I would be sitting here and looking for a flay and just create space. You have flash up, so worst case scenario, they all pile on you, right? And you absorb a bunch of cooldowns, you can flash out. You can absorb a lot of value in this team fight to create space for your team. Right. Getting this dragon is super important. And you just picked off like a bunch of players too, so it should be like a good fight for you. And we also see right here that there actually is like pings on my way that your Fizz is coming to reinforce you. You just need to buy time for him to kind of get there. So right here, like you should be creating space. You're walking back and throwing a lantern, but you really should be creating space that these two players don't get in. Because you don't create any space, right, and we lantern one person, boom, that guy dies instantly, right? Your lantern basically gets no value either because it doesn't really take anyone that far. And you show up to, and like, look at how much work Fizz does without you even buying space and both of your other players being killed. You know what I mean? So imagine if instead you walked forward, you blocked a bunch of spells, and then you walked to the wall and you flashed out. You would gain so much more value on that team fight. And you probably get the dragon, 100% actually. I can with 100% certainty tell you got in dragon there. For money. Nice. Okay, I respect it. Alright, so we're going to sell the potion that we never ate, and we're going to buy the Forbidden Idol. Also, another thing to note, too, is we finished the Sightstone. Okay, perfect. You bought an extra pink, and you switched over to Sweeper. Perfect. Alright, so we're good. So let's talk about vision control. So, first of all, when you finish your Sightstone, you should never go bottom. This is incorrect. You should always go through mid to establish vision and get vision around the dragon. So, the way I wanted you to walk once you finish your Sightstone. So this is like a generic thing. It doesn't matter the circumstances of your game, but when you're finished on your Sightstone, you walk through here and you walk through here. This is how you get to the vision area. This is the most efficient route for you to walk here. So the reason why you do this is because when you're mid, you plus mid is 2 versus 1, right? It's easier to get you vision. Plus, most of the wards actually want to be around this spot. Actually, getting wards in the bottom side is relatively useless. Next thing to note, too, is if you go bottom, then you have to 2v2 push them out and swing up like this. And because this is the most important spot, this is like the most important circle. Like this is the area we want most of the vision down. It's so much further away from you, right? Like you have to go so much farther to get to it.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're avoiding stuff like that. So it ends up working out for you because you kind of get lucky. Like your Sivir gets pushed, so like you can swing in, but it's not a good principle to have just in general. So let's talk about wards around. Let's talk about wards around dragon. So remember what we were talking about, right? Can't go wrong with a pink in line. So why is this pink in line so good? Because as Thresh, you can ward right here.
Yeah.
You can stand right here, and then you can ward right here. And if they come in at all, easiest hooks of your life, right? It's going to be very easy for you to hit skill shots from this fog of war advantage. And we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success that way.
Would you actually like place 2 different wards right there?
Okay, so this is a little bit better, but sometimes it's pinked. So the problem that you run into is if it's pink, then it's not valuable. So then I would 100% do that. If I thought that people were going to come from this corridor or from mid, I would have wards in both spots. Yes, because this covers 2 different spots. So like, let's say maybe you try to ward here, then you don't really see down mid lane that well. See how like see the circle? Can you see the outline of the circle?
Yeah.
So you see how like the circle doesn't actually reach that well into mid lane? So I would actually, no troll, like I would 100% have a ward here, and then if I thought they were coming from the ramp and I couldn't get a ward in this spot, I would consider warding here. Yes. Because just being able to sit in this brush and look for picks and catches is just so valuable. Because that's also like another problem that you run into right here is that because you're coming from the bottom side, you haven't established basically any vision around this. You have no brush to sit in to like look for picks and stuff, right? And that's what we ideally want. So see how now this guy, because you come from the bottom side and you haven't controlled this spot, the jungler walks into this location. And now this jungler has all this space for him to move around. It's going to be really hard for you to hit the hooks, right? We want to make sure that we're kind of doing, we want to make sure that we want to do the best to make sure that it's just the easiest for you possible to hit hooks. Because now I can already tell you that this is going to be a sketchy dragon now. We have a sketchy dragon. Because look, all these players have been able to walk in, and you're tanking the dragon. There's a player coming from this side. You have no idea how many more people are going to reinforce here, right? Because we don't have great vision around it. So now I can already tell you there's a pretty good chance this is a fucking disaster. I mean, it looks like a disaster already.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So now because you have no vision, you're pushed out, and now you have no life. So that's why going through mid is really important to establish vision. Just in general, it's really, really helpful for you for dragon too.
Okay.
Because yeah, now what can you even do in this fight? You're useless, right? So now you have to give up a dragon, even though you're 7 or 8 kills ahead, your jungler is super strong, etc. That shouldn't be a dragon you give up. And it doesn't need to be a dragon you give up as long as you walk through mid and get the vision down next time. So now we're walking around kind of like aimlessly. So really what you should have done, by the way, the second you got a low HP here and you walked back, I would have just channeled back. There's no point in being on the map anymore. You have 300 life, you're relatively useless. Maybe you got jebaited because you got healed a little bit from the red buff, but there's no reason for you to walk down any of this. Like, you can't be there for the mid play anyway, and you're relatively too low on HP. Because, yeah, this is like a full extra minute that you're on the map, and you do nothing. That's the easiest way to describe it. So making sure that we're timely with our good with our time is good.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so we walk up, we flash flay. All right, not the greatest hook, my man. Remember, let's just use our hooks on things that are easy. So you walk up and you flash flay, right? This should just be the hook right here on this player, right? We should just be shooting down because he's knocked up into the air and he's stunned. So you just hook right here. There's no reason to be shooting that far, and you're kind of waiting too long on it. Okay, so you're winning right here. We still haven't used Ignite. Okay, we finally used Ignite. Okay, we missed another hook. It's okay. It happens. Unfortunately, your Garen is down here, and maybe you get a kill, and you die. Okay, so here, like easy things to do, right? It's kind of like we're seeing a really good pattern though. That's actually good. I'd rather see like a lot of the same mistakes over and over again, because then you can actually tackle them. So right, this is when you flay, hook. Okay, when you flay, hook. Another thing, use your ignite earlier. So if you're gonna all in somebody, right, we want to use the ignite early, because what's gonna happen, right, is not only is heal gonna come out and then you're gonna ignite afterwards, but he's gonna run through brushes the whole time, and you're gonna have no vision of him. So a thing to note too, right, is anytime you fight through brushes, make sure that you're putting wards down in those brushes, especially if you don't have ignite. So in this fight, the things that I notice is oh, he's walking through a brush, like boom, drop a ward, perfect. Like we don't have, like that's what you should always do whenever you're fighting around brushes, is make a good mental note of, oh, he's gonna walk through fog of war, because you're gonna lose some damage here, right? We're cutting backwards. We've now used the ignite, but heal's already gone off. We haven't gotten any value out of it. And then we flay him in, right? We're still DPSing. We miss another hook, and then, you know, your AD carry ends up dying because you've done like a really big reach, I would say, even in the 2v2 department, and then you end up dying too. All right, so we respawn. Oh, go ahead.
Like, if I do this play correctly, does this work? Like I flash, flay.
Yeah, you just flash, flay, you hook and ignite, and the karma dies in 3 seconds. Yeah,
okay.
That's a fine 2v2 to take, but you need to be flash lane and going on the karma. And if you miss, by the way, okay, another thing to note too is if you miss, by the way, it's okay to like let something go that you already fucked up. There's no reason to like kill yourself on something like this. So like here, right, when you flash flay and you miss the hook, I'd probably be walking backwards. I probably won't be walking forwards after that. There's no reason for you to, in my opinion. I'd be stepping back. If I missed all of those spells, the next thing I'd go is fuck, I screwed this up. And then I'd start stepping back and throw a lantern to my AD carry, and then let Garen come from behind, and then like re-engage when he's there. There's no reason for you to push the play after you've already kind of griefed it, right? So like to make sure that like when that happens, we don't end up killing ourselves for it. Okay, so we respawn, right? The first thing that you should do is just go down mid again. You should always get vision around the mid. Mid lane ward is really, really important. So you see how like you don't establish any wards around mid, and then we're already walking all the way back to this. We want to make sure that we're timely with stuff. So the way you should do something like this is, okay, I'm in mid right now. I should be getting vision down. So the way I would see this is I'd walk here, I'd drop a ward down mid. And then as I drop a ward down mid, I'd start shifting into the jungle. That way I can get a long collapse on him, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at this and I go, there's no way you make it to this. There's no way. There's no world where you become the Flash and you appear here in 2 seconds. And this guy is going to probably die before you get here. Or maybe he gets away. So like he gets away here, right? But no matter what the circumstances were, you were never making it to that play is the most important thing. It's just too far away. Okay, so we hit a hook, not bad. Make sure that we're dropping wards down in brushes, by the way, when we're fighting. So like there should have been a ward here and a ward here, like as you're doing stuff. That way you can see who else is maybe helping the Malphite. Fortunately, no one else was in that brush, but you didn't know for sure. So now we're starting to walk around. Look for the hook. It's okay. So you should just play on the outskirts until your hook is up again. We're just hooking right now. So this is what I like to call a train wreck so far. But Malphite decides he's tired of living right now. We hook and we hook nothing. So we put the box down. The train wreck continues. Okay, did he just try to flash E himself? All right, so let's start tackling from the beginning, okay? It's like kind of like assessing a play. So, we're going in, right? We missed the hook. All right, so we're probably chilling till our hook's up, right? That's going to be the most important thing, because you're not like a very tanky champion right now. So, I would just sit right here and do nothing. Just sit here and do nothing, and maybe if you really want to cut someone off, you can go to this location. So, you start walking up. And really the only target that you're going to have is the Malphite. So I would already not be that interested in the fight. This is already a bad fight. You're going way too hard, way too fast, and you don't have hook yet. Remember, we want to use flay and hook like together, especially since you're kind of struggling to hit the hooks. So let's like do all of the cheats for it. So you shouldn't walk up and flay at all. It serves no purpose, and you already have Aftershock on cooldown, so it's not going to make you tankier. Next is this Zed's going to come out of the brush, and the Zac is going to go forward. What do you think you should do here?
Lantern the Zac.
Lantern who?
Zac?
Yeah, so the way you should do this fight now is you should walk over here and protect your Sivir, and you should just Lantern the Zac back. And just kite backwards and kill whatever's in front of you. Because see how far away their carries are? They're not going to be able to reinforce onto the Zed that's DPSing. But what's going to happen is I don't know who this is for, but I definitely don't think it went to the right person. And the Zed is going to go on your Sivir. And you see how, like, you've walked forward and you keep walking forward? You've bailed on him. You've bailed on your carry. And now you're playing with the Zac. And your Lantern isn't up anymore because we wasted it here. So really, in like situations like this, where fights start spreading out, you just want to pick a side and then pull everyone to that side. So usually, the way I see it is oh, they go on my Sivir and my Zac's all the way back here, like zoning them. Perfect. I can just Lantern my Zac back into me, and we can go protect our carry, and then we kill him because it's 4 versus 1, and they're too far away. Because you kind of use we're using the Lantern as kind of like a bonus flash for your teammate. So then this fight ends up breaking out. He flashes through and starts DPSing people. So I like the Lantern. I like the Lantern for the shield. But next, what you should be doing is you should be using your box differently. Box is nice when you hit a hook. You box and flay, and it feels really good. But another way to do things is to just use the box as like a zoning tool. So you see how like these guys go. This guy goes here. You should just put your box down, and because you have no other spells, right? You should just put your box down and just walk away. And just scoot back and start hitting this guy. And keep these players out. So you put a box here and you just move away. And that way these players can't catch up and you can kill this player for free. No reason for you to kind of like do the rest of this. You just put the box down and scoot back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. I need to actually replug my headset in 1 sec.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't hear you for a sec. All right. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So next we have. Wow, this is the end of the game right here. Okay. What happens? Okay, so Zed tries to steal this. He dies. The FF, like. Wow, they just FF. Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, main things that I want to tackle for you, just to like kind of reiterate it, is number one, we want to make sure that we are sitting in brushes and having a good level 1. Number 2 is stop taking super long and difficult to hit hooks. It's too hard for you. It's too hard just in general. It's not even like a you thing. Like it's just not correct to do those because it's just way too hard for you to hit hooks. So let's focus on using the flay, then using the hook. Next is I think you need to learn your limits a little bit better because you don't tank damage for your teammates basically at all when it comes to like team fights. And also try to use your consumables. You forget about your consumables a lot. And then, the other thing is really just whenever you face your Sightstone, let's make sure that we're going through mid and we're getting vision down. So kind of like to tackle it real quick, for like vision control is as follows. So line brush pink wards, never bad. Wards over the pink ward is always good. If you can get deeper wards like here and here, it's really, really good. So if you can go into the jungle and you feel comfortable, getting a Wraith and a Golem ward is really good. So let's say you can't do these 2 wards. Then the best wards are actually these. So you can go here to the Dragon Pit and ward over, and you can just go to this Tribush and ward over like here. Now the reason why these wards are actually better is because most people you play against, right, they'll pink ward here. And these 2 green wards dodge them. This dodges the pink wards. So like
I actually found out that like if I put the last word where you indicate it, and if they run the sweeper, if it's too close to the Tribush, they will detect it.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you'd want it like a little bit further back. But the whole point is this covers the corridors and it dodges the pinks. And then we just want some kind of ward around here. Wraiths here, here. These are all good spots. And then you need to make sure you put down your pink because there is almost 15 minutes where we don't use our pink. And your champion actually really wants to sit on pinks a lot to catch people. So yeah, let's make sure that we're doing good habits with that. And then when you're in the mid game, your wards should look like this. Number 1, always have a mid lane ward. The mid lane ward is just dependent on how far you can go / how many turrets are up. But you need a ward down mid lane, no matter what. And then the neutral objectives is always the next part. So like if you have a mid lane ward, then a ward here, and like a ward here if you're like going for dragons. And if you don't, then it's boom and boom. These are like this is like your line basically that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or anything else that you want me to go over?
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Okay.
So I guess the first one is like a general question. How do I win on Thresh? I mean, like, what does the champion want to do to win?
In the early stages, not get bullied and have lane pressure, so that you can look for hooks a lot easier and have pressure in the lane. And then the mid game is actually just the dragon stuff that I went over. Be there for the neutral objective first. So I always reset a minute and a half before a dragon spawns. Ping if you need to, and then set up wards in a way. So like pink here, and then vision on these 3 spots, so that you can catch people that are walking in to get vision. And if you do that, you'll win a lot of games, because dragons are really overpowered and they're really freaking easy to get.
Okay.
And that's it. Like straight up, like that's how I play Thresh. I win a lot of games just with good vision control around the dragons and catching people. And if you have trouble doing that with your teammates, then you gotta learn how to ping. That's basically the other thing that I would attach to it.
So is it like it's not really necessary on Thresh to like win lane?
It's ideal and you'd like it, but you can still bring a lot of games back from doing good vision control. Yeah.
Okay. So a more specific question. So you say we want like the wave control, right?
Yeah.
But I don't really want to push it. I mean, when I want to like reset or something, I want to push it into that tower. But ideally, I would like the wave to be kind of in the middle, right? So I can sit in a brush, look for hooks and stuff.
Yeah, so the beauty of it, though, is you have brushes right on the edge. So you see this brush here? Like, if a wave is just sitting, like, here-ish, which is still pushed in, you can still look for angles. And this is where the wave gets stuck a lot of the time. If you push it into the turret and catch the next wave, you'll always get it here. Basically, you remember how like I was pointing out that when you were getting pushed in, they could start hitting the minions as they were pulling it back?
Right.
You want to not have that happen to you. That's basically it. And the easiest way to do that is to have the push, and then you control where the reset happens, the wave crashes is. And that's why like the early waves are really important. Is because you don't want to get into a rhythmic area where they just grab the wave right in front of your turret and hit it and push it in again and push it in again. You want to be able to control that. So like you push it in, right? So let's say you push it in all the way to the turret. The next wave is coming out. Perfect. You know what you do? You take this brush. That way, if they try to walk with the wave, you have the brush control. You can look for stuff again, right? Because the wave has to get to here, and then the wave's in the middle. Maybe you get a little bit of a push, and you can use this brush to zone them away. And that's basically how you want to do like the early to mid game for laning. That's why it's really important for you to wrestle to push early. Because I understand what you're saying. You're trying to avoid a scenario where it's just stuck under their turret, where like you're trying to throw hooks under the turret, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. But you can do that by just controlling the resets.
Like, obviously Prior is good, in theory, like your jungle can get a scuttle crab, and like your first with a dragon and stuff, you can go ward.
Also, remember when I was talking about how like you can pressure on minions? So let's say like you are just pushing them into the turret. That's still actually pretty good for Thresh, because if you take this outside area right here and you look for hooks when he goes for range minions, it's very telegraphed, right? Like he has to walk in to hit them, and you can look for hooks then. And even if you don't, let's say like he just lets the minions die, perfect. You're getting ahead. You're already creating a lot of pressure, and you're winning the lane that way. So that also just makes you stronger in the all-ins as the game goes on. So it's not like super bad, by the way. You can leverage them being pushed into the turret pretty well. Plus, if you run things like Demolish and you learn how to push better, you can actually just get a bunch of plates. It's very easy for you.
Okay.
It's all about when you're pushing in, you have more options. You have more things you can do to win the game. Whereas when you're sitting under your turret, the only thing you can do is hope that someone comes down and saves you, or randomly walk past the wave and just hook them. Omega lol. Right? Those are like kind of the only options you have. Whereas if you push in, then you can let the wave reset and you can zone them. You can look for hooks under the turret. You can run demolish and chip some plates off. You can just roam. Like you can roam around. You have a lot more options, right? And that's why it's really important to like get into that rhythmic push. That way you just have more decisions. You can make more decisions on the map based on like how people are doing.
Okay.
Anything else?
I wanted to ask about like a couple specific matchups.
Okay.
So I picked Thresh into Rakan.
Yeah.
I know it's supposed to be like a counter matchup, right?
It's like favorable to Thresh because you can flay like a bunch of shit. I wouldn't say it's a counter matchup. It's like a 65-35 maybe. You're definitely advantaged for it for sure, but if you're not like really pristine on your flays or hooks, then it could be a bad matchup all of a sudden very quickly if your timings are bad. I think it's fine to pick into it if that's what you're asking, though. I think picking Thresh into Rakan is still good.
Yeah, but like what happened is basically nothing happened in that lane, right? Right. If I hit any hooks on Rakan, he just eat out.
Mm-hmm.
That was basically it, and he didn't really try to go in or anything.
Yeah, it's like a neutralizing matchup. The only time you'll have a lot of pressure is if you hit a hook and you flay his first E and your AD carry is already there to hit him. Then you can like start getting like really big chips on his HP bar. But if that's not the case, then yeah, you won't make like meaningful progress in that lane for the most part. You'll have the pressure. You'll have the ability to do shit.
Okay, so and another one is Set.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I was killed by Set a bunch of times.
Yeah, Blitzcrank is really good into Set.
Okay, but say I'm playing like Thresh.
Oh, then your job is to just not int, and it's to like hook and flay out the Set anytime he runs. Basically, you want to just play like man-to-man defense on the Set, where you're just keeping track of him the entire time, and then anytime he uses like Hextech Flash or something, he starts running your AD carry, you need to step up and like flay him from max range, and then just scoot back. And that's just kind of what you have to do the whole time. And if you don't manage your spacing and Set gets on top of you and pulls you in, you're probably going to have a bad time. That's basically how the matchup works for the most part.
So do I want to like...
Defensively is the best term I could use for it.
Okay.
You're playing it very defensively. You're playing very kitey. You're trying to flay him. Maybe if he uses his W incorrectly, you can look for a hook on when he starts running away from you, if you deflect him very well. But most of those fights are he starts it, you flay him to stop him from moving so fast, and then as he starts scooting back, maybe then you hook him and like poke him a bunch. And that's going to be kind of how that matchup operates outside of like huge jungle impact or something.
Okay.